Welcome into another Fallout 76 video, and in today's video we're going to be checking out my top 10 settings that are guaranteed to help you out a little bit better in the Wasteland. So without any further ado, let's get into it. So after the past several years and after 42 patches, Fallout 76 has seen several improvements and quality of life features added to the game to help players make their Wasteland adventures that little bit easier. Now sometimes some of these features can fly under the radar when it comes to major updates like expeditions, Nuka World on Tour and even Mutation Invasion, because let's face it, you just want to jump into all the new content and just get stuck in. So today I'm going to be running through some key settings that you might have missed. Starting off at number 1, we have the show damage number setting. I can't begin to tell you how many times I've been asked the question either in videos or in live streams, how are you seeing damage numbers coming up on the enemy? Well, it's very simple. If you open up the menu option and scroll down to settings and head over to display, you'll see if you scroll down to the very bottom, you'll see the option to toggle on and off damage numbers. And if you want to see the damage you're dealing to an enemy, simply toggle this option on. A feature that could be very useful, especially if you're going up against world bosses, using perks like concentrated fires that you can target limbs while in VATS, and generally so you know what damage that you're outputting. The second setting is one that a lot of players have requested and one that was added with the Season 12 update, and regardless when or why you might have experienced this, the Enable Camera Shake setting will definitely help you out when it comes to any public event, world boss event, or pretty much whenever you might come across weapons that go boom. Basically, this setting does exactly what it says in the tin, and it gives you the option to turn on and off camera shaking whenever your player character might engage in anything that might cause your camera to shake, and the majority of the time it can be from those lovely big explosive weapons. To enable this, simply head down to the display option in the settings menu, and if you scroll down to almost 3/4 of the way down, under the PipBoy Color B, you'll see the setting there. Personally, camera shake doesn't really bother me all that much, but if you prefer not to have your character feel like they're inside of a raging hangover, just simply toggle this option to off, and before you know it, the shakes will disappear. The third setting is one that's been around since the launch of the game, and that's the Enable Power Armor HUD setting. With this setting, you have the option to either toggle on or off the HUD that is supposed to immerse your character in the feeling that you're actually inside of a suit of power armor. Some players actually prefer not to have this on, as when you have it toggled off, your HUD simply changes to how your HUD normally looks when you're not inside of power armor. But at the same time too, you can also see your fusion core consumption at the bottom left hand corner, so you're somewhat getting the best of both worlds. Again, if you want to toggle this setting on or off, just head back over to the display in the settings menu and scroll down to the very bottom, and under the HUD opacity, you'll find it there. The fourth setting is one that was introduced very recently, and it's a feature that has helped out a lot of players, especially when it comes to world boss events and public events like Radiation Rumble and more, and that is the Highlight Corpses setting. This basically gives you the option so that when you kill enemies, their corpses will be highlighted with a glow, so that if their body disappears and turns into a gooey meat pile, you can differentiate between what meat pile or ash pile is either a standard enemy with basic loot or enemies that might have been carrying a legendary item. Legendary creatures will generally have a green glow or smoke coming off of them when you initially see them, but if you don't have the time to pick up the legendary item after you've killed them, you'll be able to locate their loot pile very easily, as their loot pile will glow orange. To enable this setting, simply head back over to the display in the settings menu and scroll down to the Highlight Corpses option and enable the setting Clear on Remove, so that when you pick up your loot or legendary items, their corpses will stop glowing. The fifth setting is one that, in my own opinion, is more aimed towards content creators and streamers, but can be a feature that everyone can use regardless if you stream, make content or not, and that's the Show Other Players' Names setting. This setting simply removes players' gamer tags whenever you're on a public team or whenever you see another player, and simply replaces their name with player. Personally, I prefer to have this setting switched to off whenever I'm live streaming, making videos that might have other players in certain shots and camera angles, as it protects the privacy of players that might not want their name shown on your videos or live streams. It can also be a useful deterrent against any nasty trolls that might want to pop into your live streams and possibly join your world and grief you, because if you block a player, someone who's potentially griefing or stream sniping can simply join your world off of other players on your team if they can actually see their name and if you're on a public world. But having this enabled can increase your safety and privacy, not just for you, but for other players playing with you. Or maybe you just don't want to see other players' names, then this can also be a setting that could work for you. Again, to enable this setting, simply head back over to the display option and scroll down to the very bottom to the Show Other Players' Name setting, and from here you can either toggle this on or off. The sixth setting is one that's been here since launch, but one that's been extremely useful for a lot of players who don't want to engage in PvP, and that is the Pacifist Mode setting. What this basically does is remove the ability in the instance that maybe a stray bullet might hit another player, removes the ability for that other player, if they have Pacifist Mode turned off, to retaliate and engage in PvP with you. This is extremely useful in any public event or world boss event with a lot of other players participating in the event, because if you're using automatic weapons or weapons like Tesla rifles or any weapons that have a large area of effect, well, having this setting turned on will stop anyone who might have pacifist mode turned off who want to engage in PvP. It will stop them from turning on you and sending your character to an early grave. To enable this setting, head over to settings, and in the game option, you'll find the pacifist mode setting near the top, and from here you can simply toggle this on or off. The 7th setting is a great one if you're the sort of player that doesn't want any other players sharing their perk cards with you. That could potentially mess up your build or your buffs in particular ways, or maybe you just don't like having other players share their perks. This setting is the reject incoming shared perk setting. If you want to enable this, head back over to the game option in settings and scroll halfway down, and from here you can toggle on or off shared perks. The 8th setting is more of a visual setting, but one that players have requested in the past, and that is the option to make your backpack visible or not visible. This one is definitely a nice little quality of life setting, as it simply gives you the option if you prefer not to have a backpack visible on your character, you can simply turn it on or off. Now, don't get me wrong, a lot of people might say, well, why not just not wear a backpack? Well, not having a backpack in this game is definitely not an option when it comes to the amount of items your character needs to carry, and having that weight boost is basically a core aspect of your day-to-day adventures. But some players just don't want to see a backpack on their character for many different reasons, and if it's something that you might want to do, then all you need to do is simply head over to the game option in settings and scroll down about 3/4 of the way down, and from here you can toggle on or off your backpack. The 9th setting is one that could be very useful on any platform you play Fallout 76 on, and that is the aim assist setting. Usually this setting is turned on by default, so if you prefer aim assist and it works well for you in most games that you play, then you don't really need to worry about this setting. However, if you hate aim assist and don't like your player's aim snapping directly onto enemies and prefer to have a bit more freedom when it comes to aim, then you can toggle this setting on or off by heading over to the game option in the settings menu and scrolling down to the option aim assist, and from here you can turn this on or off. And finally, the last and 10th setting is one that players have been asking for a very long time, and that is the ability to change the colour of your PipBoy screen. By default, when you first load up Fallout 76 and receive your PipBoy for the first time, the colour of the screen and text is usually a light shade of green. However, if you prefer to change the colour to reflect the colour of the PipBoy screen from a previous Fallout game, maybe like Fallout 3 or Fallout New Vegas or even Fallout 4, or maybe you just want to change it to your favourite colour, then all you need to do is head over to the display settings in the menu and then scroll down to the PipBoy Color RGB settings, and from here you can manipulate the colour of your PipBoy screen to whatever colour you prefer. You can also manipulate the colour of the QuickBoy screen in the same way by scrolling down underneath the PipBoy Color option, and from here you can change the colour of the screen, if you prefer not to see the physical PipBoy pop up on your screen every time you check your inventory. And before we wrap up today's video, I also want to include a little tip that might be very useful for you during combat, and that is to change your controllers on your controller so that your jump button is RB if you're on Xbox and R1 if you're on the PlayStation, and set your bash / power attack / grenade button to Y if you're on Xbox and triangle if you're on PlayStation. And this little trick is one that I learned from another content creator back in the day who a lot of you might know goes by the name of Tyr, an absolute legend, and I'll link his channel either up in the top right hand corner of the screen or down in the description somewhere, so yeah, definitely check out Tyr and drop him a sub. But mainly what this little trick does, it gives you the ability to jump while in VATS. By default, the controller scheme is mapped out the opposite way to this, so naturally while you're in VATS the RB or R1 button is bash or throw grenades, but switching this up will really help you out, especially if you like to run a sneak commando build, or if you're low health and need to jump out of the way of enemies like super mutant hounds or cave crickets, or generally anything that might down your character from a melee strike. And honestly, this little trick has helped me out in many combat engagements, so Tyr, if you're watching, the past several years have been a whole lot easier because of this, so cheers to you, you absolute legend. And don't worry, it might seem strange at first when trying to get used to this, but believe me, muscle memory will kick in really quick, and before you know it, it will just be like second nature to you. And there you have it, my top 10 settings that are guaranteed to help you out a little bit better in the wasteland. And if you found today's video enjoyable, consider clicking that subscribe button for more Fallout content like this, and so you never miss out on any videos that I publish. I want to say a massive thank you to all of our channel members and subscribers over here on YouTube, as it means the world to me that you enjoy my content and the work that I produce. For our Bethesda fans, if you find yourself shopping on the Bethesda store and would like to support the channel, you can use my creator code BTPineapple031 to receive 20% off of your purchases at checkout. And if you'd like to support the channel in a more personal way, consider checking out my merch store, which has an array of t-shirts, mugs, and other pineapple related merch, which I'll leave in a link in the description of this video. And lastly, to you, the viewer, the person who stumbled upon this video, thank you for being here. I hope you enjoyed. Until next time, Vault Dwellers, stay safe out there in the wasteland. Welcome to Vault 93, and I'll catch you all in the next video.